Welcome to Andy's Garage. I'm Andy Phillips. Today we're going to be working on this Chevy Trailblazer, and what we have is we have a vehicle that's getting a P0300 code, which is a random misfire code, and it's also getting a P0174, which usually means that you have a lean condition that's been detected, meaning that there's too much air, not enough fuel. So what we're going to do today is we're going to be going through the diagnosis process and kind of eliminating things and narrowing it down so we can solve the problem and fix it and get this vehicle corrected. Let's go ahead and get started. Now, a couple things that this vehicle was doing that kind of led us to where we are right now is the service engine soon, or check engine light, depending on the vehicle, you can call it different, but basically what it was doing is it was blinking on and off. And on top of that, the car was actually idling very, very rough. And at the time of acceleration, it was also kind of skipping a little bit and a little bit rough on that as well. So that's what kind of led us to where we are right now. Then once we connected to the OBD2 scan tool, that's where we saw the codes that we just mentioned with the random misfire and the lean condition. Now, the P0174, even though that does pertain to a lean condition, a lot of times it's also pointing to the mass airflow sensor. So what we're going to do is we are going to test that first and see how that looks and then go from there. So let's go ahead. We're going to pop open the hood so we can dive in and get started with this. Now, to locate the mass airflow sensor in your vehicle, if you're looking under your hood, you'll have your air intake canister where your filter is, and then you'll have your intake duct that goes to your throttle body. You'll find it in that path. On this particular vehicle, it's located right here, which is right after the intake canister and right before the actual intake duct goes into the throttle body. But you'll find it in that vicinity. Some cars will have it underneath or whatever, but you'll find it in that basic area is where you'll locate it. We're going to go ahead and remove the mass airflow sensor first, inspect it. If it needs to be cleaned, sometimes you can clean them. I did a video where I showed in depth on how to clean one. You can check that out via the link above. It'll also be down in the description. I'll have a link there as well. But we're going to go ahead and take a look at this because this could be a cause for the issues that we're having. There we go. These can be a little tricky. They're in there pretty tight, which this one was. Free that up, pull that out. And now we can take a look at it and see how it looks. This one doesn't look bad. A little bit of discoloration there on this front screen, but when you look inside at the actual sensors, they actually don't look bad. I'm going to go ahead and clean this, and then we'll be back. I'm not going to go into details on this video. Like I said, if you want to see more in depth how to clean one, you can do so via the link that's down in my description. But one thing I did want to mention is you only want to use mass airflow sensor cleaner. You don't want to be trying to clean it with anything else because you can damage it. This particular one here is made by CRC, which I recommend. I've used it before, but it's made specifically for the mass airflow sensor, so that way it won't damage anything. So let's clean it. I'll be right back. Just finished cleaning it. And I'll get a close-up, but you can see it's all nice and clean. But before we go ahead and put it in and write that off, next thing we're going to do is we're going to test the mass airflow sensor, and to do that, you are going to need a multimeter. So let me get a close-up of this, and then we'll go ahead and connect everything up and start the testing process. Now to test it, we're going to put this back in. So you want to make sure that you put it in properly. There's a little lip right there where the mass airflow has the tab that goes into it. You want to make sure that you line that up properly. I went ahead and started the engine. We have the one wire connected to the one probe that we put in, and then we're going to take the ground and connect it to the other one right here. If you want to see my video on how to test the mass airflow sensor, you can do so via the link above. I'll also have it down in the description. But you want to make sure that you check the vehicle specs for your vehicle as far as what the reading should be on your mass airflow sensor. I'm going to connect it here. and we are at 2.38 volts, which is actually pretty good. I mean, 2.5 is where you want to be. We're pretty close on that. And just for the records, this is a Chevy Trailblazer with the GM 5.3 liter V8 engine. In case that's the vehicle that you're working on, that is the reading that you're looking for. So let's go ahead and accelerate gradually, and then it should increase with it. And when we let off, it should come back down slowly. All right, do me a favor, start accelerating slowly. Nope, keep going up. Keep going up. Now come down. As we just saw, this mass airflow sensor is not performing properly, so we're going to have to go ahead and swap it out. I'm going to go ahead and change it out. I'm not going to show all that. If you want to see a video I did on how to replace a mass airflow sensor on this particular vehicle, which is a Chevy Trailblazer with the 5.3 liter V8, it is similar on other vehicles utilizing the GM 5.3 liter V8, so that's what I'm replacing it on. You can check out that video via the link down in the description. I'll also have it above, and then we'll be back once we have it replaced, so that way we can go ahead and start the vehicle and test it out. And this one here on the right is the, I believe, the original one. So this is the GM one. The one on the left is the aftermarket one there. And slight difference there, but pretty much same sensor. Now that we've gone ahead and replaced the mass airflow sensor, I want to go ahead and clear the engine codes. We're going to start the engine, let it cycle through a little bit, see if we get any codes back, and then take it from there. As we just heard, we're still getting kind of a whistling, kind of high-pitched sound when we accelerate, which could be a vacuum leak. So the next thing I want to do is I want to test for a vacuum leak and see if that could be an issue. Now, one good thing, the P0174 code did not come back. Now, the P0300 for the Random Misfire did. So it looks like replacing the mass airflow sensor did solve part of the problem. So let's go ahead and check for vacuum leaks and then move on from there. And then we'll be back to see if it takes care of the rest of the issues. The next thing we're going to test is for a vacuum leak. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to start the vehicle. I'm going to take some carburetor cleaner. We're going to spray it around the vacuum lines and see if we get any kind of response, meaning as far as the RPMs increasing as the carburetor cleaner gets near any vacuum leaks, if there are any. So we have vacuum lines right here, going around there in the back. We'll spray it. So far, nothing. Let me move on this side. Doesn't look like anything. Avoid getting it near any electrical connections. All right. Doesn't look like we have any vacuum leaks. Everything ran smooth. No changes in the RPMs. I did a full video where I showed a little more in depth how to check for vacuum leaks using the technique I just did, because in here I'm just kind of moving quick. But if you want to see more in depth how to do that, you can check it out via the link down in the description, and that'll show you more in depth. Everything, as we just saw, tested out fine. It doesn't look like there's any vacuum leaks. There was no high idle response when we sprayed the carburetor cleaner. However,
Sometimes when you're dealing with these air intake systems right here, you can have little cracks in the plastic underneath that may have not been detectable. So I'm going to go ahead and remove it so we can do a physical inspection and make sure that there's no vacuum leaks that we see there, because if there are, we need to fix those. So that one. Pull that off so we can check it. Want to be careful here where we are connected to the mass airflow sensor. You don't want to yank on that. Okay, so we got that one off. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go ahead and do an inspection on this. Look in these little areas in here, make sure there's no cracks. We're going to check also here on the bottom. Okay, well, here's a major issue right here. I'll get a close-up of it. Big area there where it's damaged, where it connects into the throttle body. Definitely a major vacuum leak right there can happen. So let me get a close-up of that, and then we'll go ahead and fix that. And if you see here, we have the hose clamp, and you can see it's all deteriorating in here. So even though this slides over the throttle body right here, you're still going to have air sneaking in right back here, which could definitely cause a vacuum leak. And let's see if we can get a shot of it from. And you can see it here from the inside. Look at that. So we need to fix this. Let's take this off. I want to remove this whole clamp so we can see it. And there it is. Look at that. Look at that vacuum leak right there, which is definitely contributing to the issues we're dealing with. So, not good. I'm going to go ahead and fix this. We're going to use kind of a self-bonding type tape and kind of patch it up and fix it, and then we'll be back to take a look at it, see how it turns out, and then put it in, and then at least get this vacuum leak issue taken care of, and then test the vehicle at that point and see if we're still running into issues, and then we'll move on from there. The damage has been fixed, and what I did is I overlapped it and built that area with that self-bonding tape, and then went over it with black RTV silicone, as you can see there, just to kind of seal it. If you want to see the full video on how to fix a damaged air intake, you can check it out via the link above, where I show how to do it more in depth. But there it is, all finished. You can see how it turned out. We're going to go ahead and connect the diagnostic back up to the vehicle. We're going to check for vacuum and see if our vacuum looks good now that we fix that. And then we're also going to go ahead and check again for any codes and see if we're still getting the random misfire. And if we are, then I'm going to go ahead and run some other tests and see if we can't pinpoint it. So let's go ahead and try it. So I went ahead and connected up my diagnostic reader. We're tracking here. Vacuum actually looks good. We're at around 17.8 to 18.1 right there. For this particular vehicle, you want to be between 17 and 22. So that's confirming the fact that we have no vacuum leaks. So we're looking good on the vacuum. However, as I'm looking here at the O2 sensors, this right here is bank 1 up top, and this is bank 2. Sensor 1, sensor 2, sensor 1, sensor 2. Our O2 sensor, the upstream bank 2 sensor 1, is completely dead. You can see it right there, it's flatlined. That needs to come out of there, and 99% chance that's our problem with this random misfire code that we're getting. A lot of times you will get a code specific to O2 sensors, but for whatever reason we're not getting that, but we are getting a random misfire, and this is definitely bad. This is what it should be doing. You should see it bouncing between 0.1 and 0.9 on the upstream, And then on the downstream, it should be pretty steady. Right now, it's still kind of around the 0.6, 0.7 area. It'll kind of come down around 0.4, 0.5 once we get the car running. So I'm not worried about that. But this bank 2 right here, that needs to be changed out. So that's what we're going to do.
As we just saw, the vacuum looks good. We are still getting the random misfire, the P0300. Now, what I did, as we saw, I also checked the O2 sensors, because even though the O2 sensors themselves will give a specific code for the upstream, downstream, bank 1, bank 2, all that, sometimes if the computer can't pinpoint them, it'll throw it into a random misfire, which is what it looks like it did, because we weren't getting a code for the O2 sensors, but we could clearly see that the bank 2 sensor 1, which is the upstream one, is completely failed and not working, which is probably causing our issue. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to replace that O2 sensor. I'm not going to go into detail how to do that. If you want to see some videos I did on O2 sensors as far as replacing them and understanding them, things like that, you can check that out down via the link above. So I'm going to go ahead and replace it. Then we're going to come back, clear the codes, and then we're going to see how it looks at that point.
If you want to see some videos I did on how to replace O2 sensors and also understanding more about O2 sensors and their terminology, you can check it out via the link down in the description where I go into more detail. But you can see here what we removed here. This sensor is in bad shape. So we're going to go ahead and put this new one in, and then that'll take care of that issue, and we'll go back to the vehicle and we'll check it out.
So the O2 sensor has been replaced. We're going to go ahead, we're going to start this vehicle. We're going to run another diagnostic on it. I'm going to clear it off and then see if hopefully that takes care of our issue. And then we'll take the car for a drive, make sure everything's good, kind of let it cycle through. And then hopefully that'll take care of this, this problem. So let's go ahead and do that, and then we'll be back.
With the engine running, we're looking here, and all the sensors are responding the way that they should. So definitely a big improvement right there. And then right here, the check engine light has gone out, which is also a big plus.
So as we saw, the check engine light is out, and on the actual diagnostic gauge tool, we see all the sensors are functioning the way they should, nice and properly. The engine is idling nice. Everything looks great. So let's go ahead. We're going to take it for a drive, see how things function, and then hopefully this will take care of the lean condition with the P0174 and the random misfire of the P0300 issue that we were dealing with. So let's go ahead and take it for a ride. You can see here, after driving several miles, everything is still looking good with the upstream and downstream sensors. The vacuum looking good as well. No check engine light is on, so that's an excellent sign. We're going to go ahead and connect to the OBD2 with the diagnostic reader and see if there are anything as far as codes pending or anything, or if they're completely clear. See here, kind of blurred out there, but basically what it said is no fault codes found. And if we look here into the fault log manager, look into the fault log manager, 0 faults, nothing pending, nothing in the history, completely clear. All right, well, this pretty much wraps up this video on how to diagnose and fix a lean condition with a random misfire that we were dealing with here, which is the P0174 and the P0300 codes. I hope that this video was informative for you. I hope it helped you out with any projects you're working on. A couple things that I didn't show in this video because they didn't pertain to the lean and the random misfire issue that we were dealing with, but this particular vehicle that I'm working on, there's a lot of other things that I had to do also that were done in addition to this video. We also redid a lot of the fuel system, and I'll show you what we were dealing with when we pulled the fuel injectors out. Here's what we were dealing with. I mean, take a look at this. Look at these fuel injectors. definitely in need of being replaced. To my knowledge, these are the original ones, and this vehicle has almost 200,000 miles. Look at this. Here's a little comparison. On the left is the one that came out, on the right is the new one. You can see what a huge difference. And you can see these things were really bad off. Fuel injectors, the fuel pump, fuel filter, fuel pressure regulator, the ignition coil packs, all that were all original at 198,000 miles. Normally you want to replace these things around 70 to 100,000 miles, or at least check on them and see if they need to be replaced. So if you want to see the videos I did on how to replace all of those components on a 5.3 liter V8 by General Motors, you can check it out down in the description below. I'll have all these videos to a lot of stuff that I've been doing with this vehicle over the last several months, and that might be helpful with projects you're working on with this same type of engine. So please send me any questions, any comments pertaining to this video. And as always, I appreciate all the support. Please like this video, subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you next time.